Okay, so let's take a closer look at how these new US tariffs will impact countries in South Asia. India has been hit with 25% levies on imports to the US. A government source told the Reuters news agency they expect this to impact around 40 billion in exports and that they'll keep negotiating. Pakistan faces a 19% tariff, a significant drop from the 29% the US threatened earlier this year. On Wednesday, Pakistan's finance minister praised the deal. Bangladesh also expressed satisfaction after its levies were cut to 20% from 37%. Its interim leader called it a diplomatic victory. Well, I asked Professor Mohsin Raza from OP Jindal University why India was being penalised with 25% tariffs.
Absolutely. India is in shock. Many of us expected the US to be our friend. At least that's what we were led to believe through what our government was telling us. But now it appears that we are being penalized both for trading oil with Russia, maybe, or buying Russian weapons, and also for not providing a big enough market for American goods, possibly. We are, of course, 1/10 the size of the US as a market, around 3.5–4 trillion, whereas the US is around 36 trillion. So we don't provide, and because of our tariff and non-tariff barriers, we don't provide a big enough market for US goods. As I mentioned in a recent article, we need to lower tariffs on US manufactured goods. We can't reduce it on agriculture or on dairy, but on manufactured goods we can, because US manufactured goods are anyway quite expensive, and they have anyway a very small market in India. So even if we reduce our tariffs on them, it won't affect us.
We'll come to India's agricultural sector in a second. I just want to pick up on one of the things you said there about the barriers to trade. It sounds like you're saying that Donald Trump actually has a point when he says that his country is being ripped off. It sounds like India is one of those countries, to use the president's terms, ripping the United States off.
That's true. India's non-tariff barriers as well as its tariff barriers are quite high, and unnecessarily so in terms of manufactured goods. They are rightly so in agriculture or dairy. There also we could reduce it a bit, but there our farmers are poor. They receive much fewer subsidies than American farmers who receive billions of dollars in subsidies. So we have less room there, but certainly in manufactured goods we have room. And our trade surplus shows it. We have a $46 billion trade surplus. But in services, our surplus is much smaller, only in the range of around $4 to $6 billion. So that part of the relationship, Donald Trump has not yet arrived at. He's not yet touching services trade, because those who provide services in the United States are not part of his MAGA, Make America Great Again constituency. Right. That is, those who provide services in America are both basically upper middle class people who don't constitute his core voting base.
And on the politics of this, less wiggle room in India's agricultural sector, because India has a massive number of farmers who all vote, presumably.
Precisely. India, about 50% of our population is dependent on agriculture. By some accounts, almost 45% of employment is in agriculture. And these people will be directly affected, and they are the largest single chunk of voters. So this will affect us, and we saw it in the farmers' protest, if you recall, in 2020. Just a few changes in the farm laws had brought millions of farmers on the streets. So they're also not shy of protesting.
Right. So is this as good as India can get? Or, if you were one of the Prime Minister Modi's economic advisors, perhaps you'd be whispering something in his ear right now?
As I said, there's a recent article I wrote, and we can do much better. We can reduce, on manufactured goods, we can actually go down to zero. Because American manufacturers don't compete with Indian manufacturers, and they are so expensive that they form a very small part of our total import portfolio. So on agriculture, we can do some things. Some of our agriculture tariffs are above 100%. We can reduce them a bit, but there we have much less wriggle room. We just also hoping that Trump doesn't get down to services, because there we will suffer, because our IT sector, our business process outsource sector is highly US dependent. So we don't want to take a hit there.
Good talking to you, Professor. Thanks for talking us through that. Professor Mohsin Raza Khan from OP Jindal University in Delhi. Thank you.